Welcome to the year-end YouPotential podcast of 2025. I wanted to change things up a bit. Instead of having a conversation, an interview, I want to stop, reflect, pause on all the wonderful conversations that I had in 2025. This year, we've had so many different insightful people sharing their stories, their messages, that I thought it would be very interesting not to give a high level or highlights or best of episode, but instead, while I asked every guest so many different questions, I did ask every guest, didn't matter who they were, what their profession or background was, I asked them the same question. And this question wasn't about success, it wasn't about money, and it wasn't about achievement. I asked them to reflect on their lives, to look back on their lives, and think about what it meant to live a meaningful life. If you're a listener, you might have recognized this question. And it goes something like this. As I read it to you, or as I say it, I want you to think about your own life when I do this. Here's the question that I asked everyone in 2025. Let's imagine that you're at end of life. You find yourself sitting on a front porch, looking out at a view that gives you complete peace, ease, and contentment. You decide to pull out a notebook to write your children's children a letter on what you learned was a key to living a meaningful life. If you're listening, think about that for a second. How would you write that letter? And as I look back on all the conversations that I had in 2025, what surprised me wasn't how different the answers were. Instead, it surprised me in how similar their answers were. We had different people from different walks in life, different careers, different life paths. But yet, when I asked this question, the same life lessons kept showing up again and again and again. And I thought this was too important not to distill them into one episode so that we can listen and hear from all the wisdom from these guests. So again, this isn't a highlight reel. This is a distillation of the wisdom that my guests shared with you and me throughout 2025. These are the lessons that tend to remain when everything else falls away. When we're at end of life, here is what our guest would write in that letter. I hope you enjoy this as much as I did in creating it. And again, thank you. Thank you for tuning in week after week to the YouPotential podcast. 2026 is already looking exciting, and we can't wait to show you what we've got up our sleeves for the next year. The first section that we broke down these conversations, or how our guest answered the question, is all about love, connection, and relationships. Almost no one started to answer this question with what they achieved. Instead, so often they start it with love. Love of self, love of family, love of community, and love of others. Aristotle always had this line that I loved. He said, without friends, no one would choose to live, even if they had everything else. Isn't that interesting? And when we look at our own lives, damn, our friends, they mean a lot. Our family, they mean a lot. Those social relationships are so important. And modern research is showing us that it keeps landing in the same place. Relationships matter, and they matter a lot. The longest running study on human happiness, following people for decades, keeps saying the same thing in plain English. Good relationships don't just make life nicer, they make life healthier and longer. So as you listen to this first section, listen how often meaning becomes about people, the relationships, not necessarily a resume, what they accomplished, not a status thing, but it's definitely a people thing. And as you're listening, think about those important people in your life that make it richer and meaningful. Enjoy this section.
Love of self, love of family, love of community, love of others, and that agape love. Have you poured into your family? How have you supported your family? And, at the end of the day, it's about the legacy you want to leave. Like what do you want people to say at your eulogy? What do you want people to say at your funeral?
Love others into being, and you will be loved.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much.
Whatever you do, love what you do and do it well.
do it for you?
Love.
Love.
Love. Yeah, really. I mean, Chris Peterson defined the whole field of positive psychology in 3 words when he said other people matter. And I think that is key for work, for meaningful life, for experiencing well-being, happiness. Everything we want for the people we love is about other people matter. Like, love each other. Just love and kindness.
Don't be stingy with love. That's it.
Thank you. I want to make sure that the people who are like my family and my closest friends and my partner and kids eventually, that they feel like they were the stars of my life, and that I was there, and that I made their lives better and richer and more meaning filled. So that to me is kind of 99% of my answer, is just feeling like people felt loved by me and cared for. And like, I'm such a big camper and hiker and nature person. And there's this concept of like leave no trace. And so like you use an area and you want it to be as sort of fresh and naturey for the next person. And so I kind of want to leave no trace in the sense of like harm on the world. But I do want to leave a trace of care, of nurturing greater empathy, of people returning to themselves and feeling more connected, and then maybe these artifacts called songs and memories that people can have and continuously reconnect to.
The message in that bit, I think I would try to write about connecting with people and trying to connect with people. That the cashier at the store that you think sucks, or your neighbor who's rude, if only these people would get out of the way, they suck. They're great. They add to the story of your life, and they give you stuff to tell other people to be able to have connections with. And all human connection is really all we have here. That's it. That's the most fun part of this whole deal. And I think it would be something related to that.
First, I would re-emphasize that they can't not matter. Like, every day, you put inputs into the system that is life, that has an infinite impact, and that you may not see. But you have to believe that there's that impact. There's a Scottish theologian, he wrote, a river's source knows nothing of where it leads. And I would remind them that it leads somewhere. And so to really think about what that downstream impact is that you want. And then I would say to make sure you tell people how they matter to you. Don't be the person who thinks of someone they're grateful for but hasn't told them in the last week. Tell them. One of my favorite columns was by this journalist named David Brooks, but he wrote this column years ago, and I still read it. It's called Resume Virtues versus Eulogy Virtues. Resume virtues are the things that people talk about what you acquire and achieve. They're the things that go on your resume. Eulogy virtues are the things that you want people to say at your funeral. And I would ask them, are you pursuing resume virtues or eulogy virtues?
Boy, this is deep, huh? I think one of the best gifts my mother gave to me was, she always said, treat people the way you want to be treated. And so I am a firm believer that if you put good energy out into the world, it comes back to you tenfold. So that's that.
The second section was all about time and the idea that our time is finite. It seems like we have so much time in this life, but really and truly, when you think about it, it goes so quickly. So this lesson isn't about getting a panic and trying to maximize every minute, hour, and day of our life. Instead, what I heard from the guest was really getting clarity on how I want to spend my life. What things do I desire? What things do I really value in my life? And then allocating this finite resource called our time on those things. People weren't afraid of dying. They really weren't. Instead, what I heard is they were afraid of missing this one precious life. There's a line from Seneca that I often think about, and I think it goes well with this conversation. He said, "It's not that life is short, it's that we waste a lot of it." I know for myself when I hear this quote, the reason why it resonates with me is because I've spent so many days, hours, even years pursuing things that I thought other people wanted me to do. And this isn't to say that we can't have big, audacious, hairy goals and that we shouldn't be thinking about forward-thinking goals. This is all about making sure that those forward-thinking goals are ones that align with what we want out of this life, all while at the same time making sure we experience and notice the life unfolding right in front of us. It's more of a wake-up. And even research around well-being shows that people tend to feel better when they protect their time and spend it on things that they value. And interesting, good research from Elizabeth Dunn has shown us that when we use our money to buy back time instead of buying more stuff, it increases our happiness as well. So this section isn't about maximizing every minute, every hour, like I said. It's about not sleepwalking through life, about noticing the small moments that are unfolding right in front of us every day, and also creating those big moments that we're going to remember for a lifetime. I hope you enjoy this section on the value of time.
Wow, you like to do the big swings and end big, huh? Unavoidably in your life, there will be a point at which you will be dead. And there's between now and that time to visit me. So when are you going to visit me?
Oh, wow.
And so he was really putting a lot of pressure on me, right? Like,
but I mean, truth.
Yeah, but really reminding me of my mortality, kind of saying like what's important. And I think that's what I would suggest to people, that like your time is actually finite. And if you're not going to live your life, no one else is going to live it for you. So you might as well make sure that there's some stuff that you value, some stuff that's enjoyable, some stuff meaningful, and if that's not the rat race, fine. If it is the rat race, fine. But you ought to spend some time on the riverbank looking at the river and thinking about what part of the river you want to swim in, and then swimming in that part.
It would be that from that perspective, taking a broader view of my years, of recognizing that it was those little moments, those ordinary moments along the way that are showing up in that perspective of having lived a happy life. So don't miss out on noticing those good things that are right there.
So you made me think of something, and then I'll finish with your thought. I sat down on a rock in a kind of elevated area, and I looked out over the beautiful ocean, and the sun was shining, reflection. And I had this moment where, with all due respect to my family and to my friends, I mean, I love my family and my friends dearly. I'd take a bullet for them. I'd put my life on the line for them any day of the week. But at that particular moment, I needed nothing. And if I'd left the planet at that moment, I would have left this planet completely content. I'd have been pissed off, Yeah. I'd have been pissed off. I'd say, hey, are you kidding? I've got more I want to do. But I would have been content with the fact that I was truly energized, and my receptivity, my desire, my belief, my intention, my action, and my passion were all well intended to live the best life I could. And so I'd be completely content. And of course you have regrets and all these things. I'm not making it sound lofty, but I'd have been completely content in what I've done and what I've achieved and how I've related to people around me in the world.
I think it would be much more about never forgetting to play and keeping that in every part of your life. Not taking it so fucking seriously.
For the last 15 or 20 years, I've felt like each day I'm sitting somewhere at the end of life because we're all going to die. And odds are sooner rather than later. What I've tried to do, particularly with the last, 5 or 6 books, is codify for people that if you have the privilege to have a supercomputer in your pocket and enough to eat, to feel safe as you sit in your home or walking down the street, it's a sin to waste it. To waste it watching something that a TV system wants you to watch, or fretting about money that a money system wants you to fret about. When we can make a contribution, when we can be a contribution, when we can find possibility. And I'm just trying to help people see more tactics isn't the answer. It's you become what you do. And the best way to become who you seek to become is to make a ruckus, to make that generous contribution that people would miss if it wasn't there. That's my consistent true north. That's what I'm trying to do.
The third theme that emerged was choose experiences over stuff. It was really interesting. While I thought maybe money would come up a little bit when they were answering this question, but it rarely came up. And the times that money did come up, it wasn't around things that I thought or expected people to say. It wasn't about how to make more money or how to save more money. Rather, it was understanding what enough money is and understanding what enough is in general in our lives, because money has this interesting way to have a lot of power over us. In fact, Aristotle warned us about the power of money over 2,000 years ago when he said, and I'm paraphrasing here, if money becomes the goal, we've already missed the point of life. Money's meant to support a life well lived, not replace it. I love that statement from Aristotle, and that is exactly what you're going to hear from the guest in this next section. We know money matters. It really does. It helps reduce stress, it creates options, but it cannot, and it does not automatically create a meaningful life, and that's what you're about to hear in the next section. What does create a meaningful life is how we experience our days, our weeks, and years, how present we are for them, and how we share it with others. And we can decide if money is going to support these things that we actually value. So listen here for what money is serving and not replacing.
It would be 2 words and a symbol. It would be the word experience, a greater than sign, and then stuff. Yeah, experiences are greater than stuff. And it would be a deep sense of connection, of love, of gratitude. It would be about emotional experiences. Like, if you spend a bunch of money to go on a European vacation or whatever, and you're just miserable the whole time, that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, it's this cup of coffee, Sean. Oh, it's smelling it and realizing that these are beans that came from across the world, and here I am in the morning and I get to grind these beans up and I get to taste this thing. It's like that. It's like you're having experiences all the time, and it's just looking to accentuate those experiences that fit with what matters most to you.
My financial well-being has fluctuated over the years, and it taught me that it's not something that will make you happy, certainly not in the long run, but it can make you very unhappy. So the absence of it, and it goes to a lot of research by a psychologist, organizational behaviorist by the name of Hertzberg, where he talks about hygienic factors and motivational factors. Hygienic factors are ones that without them, you will not flourish. Motivational factors are ones that with them, you will flourish. So without money, it's very difficult to flourish. However, money in and of itself is not enough to flourish.
Living within your means. Living within my financial means has given me a superpower in life. It's allowed me to feel like I could have the freedom for my wings to spread without a feeling of some sort of clawing desperation just being in the background of my life. I feel like I could take deep breaths into the bottom of my lungs, and I'm grateful for all that stuff. And all that really is just trying to spend little. And a lot of things we're not taught about personal finances. And I think that living within your means is the instant pathway to wealth that we don't talk about. As we see conspicuous consumption on display in social media, we're under the impression that we need the side hustle, we need to make more, we need to have our crypto investments, 10x overnight, or else we're nothing. And I'm here to say that you can have all that stuff as long as you're living within your means. All that to say that conspicuous consumption is the fastest way to being poor in lots of fronts, whether it's financial poor or spiritually poor. Frugality and a focus on your own internal narrative is, I think, the way to have a buoyant life and a buoyant financial life.
There's a lot of things that come to mind, and I'm kind of fighting one back, and I think it's probably the right one. I believe in living my life full on, right? Like full gas. And now I've gotten older, I realize, like, with periods of rest. I want to surround myself with people who are up to something, like fire in their eyes, slightly mischievous. I can actually recognize them when I walk in a room now. And that doesn't mean hustle. Like, I used to think that meant hustle. It doesn't. It could mean sitting on the porch. I'm excited about the idea of getting into fly fishing because previously I was like, there's not enough adrenaline. So it doesn't mean adrenaline. It just means, like, what are you up to? In fact, some of the older people that I love the most still have that, it's not a twinkle, it's a spark, So I think that's what that sketch would be. It'd be a circle, and the circle would be labeled the world. And there would be a giant exclamation mark outside the circle, and it would be labeled your life. And there would be an arrow from the circle, from the exclamation mark to the center of the world. So like forcibly insert that opinion into the world, whether you're a doctor, whether you're and if you can just wear the khaki pants, great. Do your thing. Whatever your thing is, like, do your thing. That's what I would draw at the end of my life.
The fourth theme that emerged was this idea about becoming the author in your life. What I mean by that, I mean not letting the external world, the external environment shape the next chapters of your stories. This was a theme that really started showing up. This idea of agency, that I have control, rather that I can take control and take back the pen in my life and start authoring the next chapter. That's a mouthful for basically meaning take the next steps on my own accord. Meaning didn't come from waiting for things to happen. It really started to be obvious that meaning comes from taking the next step, choosing on your own accord to take that next step. Socrates said something that fits really well here. He talks about how the unexamined life isn't worth living. Not because you need to overthink everything and hash everything out and overthink. Rather, because the opposite of drifting, floating, going rudderless in the ocean, aimlessly, not knowing where you're going, that is expensive. Because as we talked about earlier, we have one precious life. And if we don't take the time to acknowledge where we've been, it's hard to know where we're going. Psychology says something similar. We do better in life, we feel better when we have a say in our own lives, when we're in the driver's seats, when we make decisions that matter, and we're not just reacting to expectations, pressures, or fear coming from the outside world. So this section is all about understanding when we're on that deathbed looking back at our lives. We thanked ourselves, we encouraged ourselves to pick up that pen and have an authorship in the next chapters of our lives, and we didn't wait for things to happen. This doesn't mean that we're always going to make perfect choices. We mess up all the time. But the important part is here that we're making choices, real ones based on what we believe is going to bring us meaning and satisfaction in life. Enjoy this section.
Oh, there's so many things. It would be such a long letter. That'd be my poor kids. I'm like, Mom, get on with it already. To live with intention and not be the passenger on the train that is your life, but the conductor. So many people are just riding along saying, well, I can't do this because of this. And they're letting everyone else prioritize their life, and they're letting everyone else put these parameters on their life, and they're not getting in the driver's seat and being the conductor of the train that is their life. And I think that to me is a guiding principle. I would hope my children, by the time I'm that old, would know already. And the measure of your life when you die someday is going to be, how do people remember you, and how many people did you help?
The first thing that comes to mind is have a go. Just 3 simple words, have a go. The regret that sometimes comes up to me is, did I have a go? Like, did I actually put it on the line and put myself out there? Without that first step, nothing happens. Takes courage. And Paul Callery was a wonderful guy at university. I think he's passed away now, unfortunately, but his favourite saying used to be, on the other side of fear is freedom. I think that the letter would say have a go, because if you have a go, it leads to action, it diminishes the fear, and it leads to the freedom. So that's what I would say, I think.
2 words, keep going.
Keep going.
That's all.
I love that. Mark, thank you so much. For people listening, can you tell them about your books, your YouTube channel, all of the brilliant things that you're doing?
Yeah, look, I'm really easy to find and get hold of. Mark Bowden, you put that into that wonderful Google thing and it'll come up with me. So go find me. Got a whole bunch of books, a whole bunch of videos, YouTube channels to follow. So get out there. There's lots of stuff for you out there.
Those YouTube videos are fascinating where you're looking at pop culture things and dissecting the body language.
Yeah.
So we'll include all that.
Beautiful.
Damn. I like that you didn't make it the typical obituary one. I like the way that you describe it. That's a good one. I really think psychological flexibility is the je ne sais quoi. Everyone has this jagged profile of skills, abilities, personality traits, like built-in capacities and things that you've developed over the course of your lifetime. And the way that you're going to create the greatest success in your life, however you want to define success, really enjoyable social interaction, experience flow while you're writing, hit your PR in the gym, whatever the success is defined as, is you have to figure out what element, what dimension of that jagged profile is going to work best in this situation that I'm in right now. Forget the notion of, I wrote a book on curiosity is the jam. Angela Duckworth wrote a book on grit is the jam. Michael McCulloch wrote a book on forgiveness, that's the jam. Robert Emmons wrote a book on gratitude, that's the jam. So everyone's got their jam. And I'm saying, in some ways, we're all wrong. Is like, we're this big, massive, messy profile. And the thing is, what are you gonna pull out right then and there because you read the situation to go in there? Don't hold any dimension, capacity, or strength too tightly because you might need something else for the situation that comes next.
What I learned, the greatest thing so far that I've done is having that honest self-audit. It took a lot of courage. It took a lot of energy. It took a lot of just going through life. But that really kicked off. It saved my life. It saved my life. It contributed to what you're seeing now. It contributed to a better understanding. It's given me resilience. It's given me that humility that I was talking about the place in the world. It's giving me more purpose. It's giving me more understanding. If I didn't do that, 100%, 100 million %, I'd be dead. So it is the greatest thing I've ever done.
Follow your own pursuit instead of what people tell you the journey's supposed to be. And I think that is so true because, again, going back to my early days and product of the situation, but like, I definitely held on to people's views of the world or people's views of what I should do and how I do it. And if I continued that path, I wouldn't have an identity. I wouldn't even be able to write that letter. And so to me, it certainly is like, don't become me. I don't want for my son to live the life I had or, have the same interests as me. But it's our goals to pursue, give them the platform to pursue their life's goal and their mission. And so it's, listen to everyone, be open to viewpoints, but follow your search of life and meaning.
The fifth section during this episode is all around acceptance and peace. Peace that we have enough. You see, as this episode continues on, we're starting to go towards perhaps less striving. I hesitate saying less striving because it's not like we're saying you can't have goals. In fact, big, audacious, hairy goals, BHAG if you haven't heard that, they're important. They are guiding posts in our lives. Goals do help us create more meaning and satisfaction in our lives. It's having the right goals that really build that meaning and satisfaction in our life. So this section around acceptance and peace is accepting that we are who we are, accepting that we want to do what we want to do, and not being obsessed what we think other people want out of us. That's where the acceptance comes in, and that's where less striving comes in. Marcus Aurelius wrote something that I think applies here. He said, if you're distressed, the pain isn't always the thing itself, it's the story we attach to it. You see, we're story-making machines. We want to make a story for everything. And I want to be clear here. This isn't about pretending that things don't hurt or it's not hard. Instead, it's about realizing that peace, acceptance, often comes from controlling the one life we have, but we can't control the external circumstances. And there's this interesting outcome that happens that I've heard from a lot of artists, creators, business owners, that when we in fact accept, sometimes the outcomes aren't in our control and we start to loosen our grips on how we think something should look, then magic starts. Then we start to create things we didn't mean to. So there's this interesting balance between having this BHAG goal and trying to control what I can do to get there, but accepting the external world is going to do what it's going to do. And we have to read and respond. That's what I think this section's about. So listen here about the acceptance and not resignation, rather acceptance that there are things we can control and things we can't control. I think this is a bit of maturity. And in the end, it's a feeling of enough. Enjoy this section.
Accepting life as it is probably would be like, a key message to say that, okay, that life is what it is. I did probably some great things, probably some things that I regret, but that's my life. And I just have accept that was the life that I lived. Just that in addition to that, then finding some small things that you can still do in life and that can bring some meaningfulness to that. What are the small things that one can still do that could bring some small moments of meaningfulness?
It would just be sort of two lines. It would be learn to love wisely and become trustworthy of others loving you.
The idea I want to convey is living a meaningful life is serious fun. It's gotta, you're going to encounter a lot of things and you have to take a lot of things seriously, but you should also have a lot of fun. I think humor is a necessity, right? Something funny has to happen. There has to be funniness around for me to be myself, but learning what's funny and what's funny that hurts people and what's funny that brings people together. I think that's serious fun, right? I don't want anyone to become too overwhelmed by the idea that constantly we're banking moment after moment, whether we spent it well or not. I just want people to feel engaged in determining their own lives. The goal is still a life that you're happy you're living.
Probably something in nature and something where a community, people have gathered together. So you're feeling nature all around them, but you're also feeling that celebration, that joy in the community. And the poem would be how, 200 years ago, humanity was in a crisis. And our great-great-grandparents stood up to the plate, got up to the plate and said, no, we're going to make a great world happen. And they made a world that was resilient as the nature around that community. And it's beautiful.
Wow, that's a great question. Mine would be very, very simple. Wow, I'm going to cry. Having a hard time. It's very easy. Sorry.
That's
This is
all right.
hard. I hope I made you proud as a dad.
Thank you for tuning in to this year's YouPotential 2025 year-end episode. As I mentioned earlier, I didn't want this to be a highlight or best hit of the year. Instead, I wanted to extract wisdom that my guests shared. We are so fortunate to have had so many fascinating guests come on the episode and share their struggles, their bumps, their bruises, their successes, how they think about enough, satisfaction, and living a meaningful life. And I wanted to share with you how they responded to this wonderful question. For all the listeners, thank you. We will be back in 2026 with even more episodes and great conversations around the intersection of money and meaning so that we can all say, damn, I lived a good life. Before we go, let's turn this question onto you. Perhaps this will be the most important part of the episode. You are at end of life. You find yourself sitting on a front porch, looking out at a view that gives you complete peace, ease, and a feeling of content. You decide to bring a notebook out so that you can write a letter to your children's children on the key themes that you learned was important to living a meaningful life. What would you write? Thank you so much for supporting the show all year. I'll see you next time on the YouPotential podcast.